Everybody, this is Eric Rousseau, the festival director of the Comedy Film Festival happening in Austin, Texas, May 8th through the 10th. I'm joined today by a number of writers from our script and pilot competition. For those that might not be aware, this is something that we do every year as part of the Comedy Film Festival. So these are scripts, whether they're features, shorts, or pilots that are not produced, but hopefully very soon will be. And with that, we are joined by first, Laura Resnick. Laura, hey, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your project.
Okay, well, I'm a native New Yorker, but I escaped to New Mexico in the 80s in a Carmen Gia that I push-started since the starter went out in Pennsylvania. So we had a park on inclines. I studied under some really wonderful mentors. I don't know if you're familiar with Tony Hillerman at the University of New Mexico and Rodolfo Anaya. I wrote, I'm a novelist first. I wrote 3 novels, including the Bagels and Salsa. And then I got into screenwriting, which I have to say, I took like a duck to water to it. It really, what I loved about it was setting up the scene that you see and just getting it out there instead of necessarily, word crafting, which I love. But from being a novelist to a screenwriter, I'll be honest, it seems so much easier because, it's so much shorter and just page-wise. Bagels and Salsa is very loosely based on my life as a Jewish woman from New York who ended up heading out to New Mexico with a Hispanic man from a ranch, and the cultural turmoil that comes from that. Totally, this is not autobiographical. However, just that theme, it's a very important thing in my life since I have Hispanic Jewish sons, that diversity and accepting people from different cultures and learning to not only celebrate your differences, but really grow to understand and respect each other. And nothing like family to bring that out. I've written 3 novels and 3 screenplays and currently really working hard on trying to get this made as a movie. It's my baby, and as they all are, but right now I've really focused on that. I live in Austin, Texas. I've been here for 20 years, originally from New York with a stop in New Mexico for college. And I majored in creative writing and been a writer for many years. I wrote my first novel when I was 6 years old. So there you go. I don't know what else I can say. I love Austin. You're here in Austin. Yeah, it's a phenomenal place to live. And coming from New York, I feel it has, all the good things about New York with minus a lot of the bad things. It's just got great culture, great food, amazing music. So that's pretty much a real overview.
Awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you as part of the festival this year. Sam, tell us a little bit about yourself and your project.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Sam Ader. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. My first screenplay I wrote when I was 12. I had my little plush animals that I'd move around, and I remember telling my dad all the stories that I made, and he said, you should write it down. And so I wrote a screenplay, just put it away forever. And I got to college as a vocal performance major, and I was going through a pretty rough time, and I just happened to find this screenplay from almost a decade ago, sitting in my Google Docs, and I talked with a buddy who really kind of got me into film. I was explaining to him the world, and he was like, "This is really good. You should maybe do it." So I shirked all my schoolwork. I finished that screenplay in 5 weeks. And then since then, I really fell in love with storytelling and writing. I took one film class in college that kind of got me the setup of how to do it. And then I've just been kind of writing like a fiend since then. I really started taking filming like as a want for a career seriously just over the last like 12 months, submitting this screenplay, a couple other ones around. I currently have a psychological horror screenplay feature that's in production. We'll be entering principal shooting in June. So I'm excited about that. And since then, I've sitting on a couple finished screenplays, a couple of shorts, and just love writing about whatever's personal to me. And so my project is Best Friends Forever. It's a comedy feature. Derek and Liam are two roommates that have known each other since they were like in the second grade. And Derek promises Liam that before they graduate college, he's going to help Liam lose his virginity. And Derek unfortunately dies, and then it returns as a spirit and says, "Hey, I can't move on to the afterlife until we get you laid." And so the rest of the film is just a fun little comedy, wingman about these two best friends. And as raunchy as it gets, it is a real testament to like that platonic male love that I feel like doesn't get shown a whole lot in film. You know, this is a lot of off the wall, ridiculous jokes, but at its heart, these two guys that have known each other forever that really want to foster that friendship. And for me, like, I only know how to write things that are personal to my life, whatever the genre might be. And this is just a love letter to my friends. Being able to throw in our jokes and our like quips in there is just like a nice little touch for me. And as someone who lost a really good friend of mine in college, it was also nice to kind of explore what that grief is like, and that question of like, if that person, the love of your life, showed back up in front of you, like, how would you deal with that? Do you jump right back into the way you were, or, does it take some time to get to that? And I love comedy. I think this festival is really important, especially now. We have an originality problem in the industry. Everything's either an IP or based on someone's life or something like that. And I think comedy and horror are the two main avenues where you can really just throw anything against the wall and it's going to be made. And I think comedy was always an escape for me. I was the comedic sidekick when I did theater, and no matter what was going on in my life, I could find like something to hold on to with that. And I think where our world is right now, we need stuff that just kind of turn off our brains so we can turn off the news and the breaking news and all the stuff that's going on and just sit and enjoy for an hour 30, something that's just going to make us feel happy again. So thank you for including me in this festival. I've really it's been kind of a back-to-back of not really knowing the industry, kind of scoping it out as I go, and just another opportunity to network with you guys and be able to be featured is just an honor. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, like, as we're having these discussions with filmmakers before the fest, that parallel with comedy and horror keeps coming up. And it's funny because I remember 4 years ago when we were getting this festival started, like, that's what I would point to as an example of like, yeah, like it's just a, big kind of like umbrella, kind of in the same way that like a horror can be a horror and a lot of other things. So it's really cool to see other people embrace that and kind of come to that as well. So really happy to have you part of the festival. Kyle, thank you for joining us. You've got a really interesting and unique story. Tell us a little bit about it and yourself.
This project is an adult animation. It's called Biker Guy and Cat. So it's basically about, to sum it up just real quick, it's basically about a motorcycle club that welcomes pretty much everybody except bullies and dicks, and they're accompanied by a killer but cute cat. And each character kind of plays off each other to make the crew run smoothly. But like in one false move, they could be taken out by a rival gang or a rival kitty cat. So to get the inspiration out of this project and how I got, the idea from it was basically, I smoke. I'm a kind of a stoner, and I have a stoner friend who has a motorcycle. And one day I went to go over to his place to smoke, and him and his girlfriend at the time had just decided to adopt a cat. And so I went with them. We drove like 45 minutes out to the boons, out to this trailer park, and we picked up this cat, super cute. But then after playing with it, it was just vicious. And my arm was all cut up. And then people would ask me why my arm's so cut up. And I wanted to lie to them and be like, yeah, I got cut up into a bar fight. But in reality, it was just a cute kitty cat that I was playing with, you know? So that's kind of like how I got the idea, and it just struck me. And I always in the past kind of just wrote like in my aspect and my, point of view and my characters and my other two projects. But in this project is something that I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone and kind of wrote in different aspects and kind of not in my point of view, and just to get like a broad view of just everybody out there. And like that's what I like about the script, because like I said, it the gang accepts everybody, people with autism, people who are mute, geniuses. So it all like ties together. So I really, this is kind of like my baby, and this is what I'm really proud of. But I really appreciate this opportunity to get into this meeting and just to share it with people and just keep it alive. But I really appreciate you guys, and thank you so much. I'm excited to hear your guys' stories as well.
I was just kind of like looking around the screen when you were giving that synopsis, and I feel like just when you hear it, when you read it, it's like you can't help but smile. It's like just the idea of it is really, really fun. So really cool, and hopefully something comes of it, and we're so thrilled to have you here. So from one New Yorker to another, Jasenia, tell us a little bit about yourself, your project. So happy and thrilled to have you here.
Hi, everybody. I love your story so far. Michael, can't wait to hear yours. I'm Jasenia, and I co-wrote Goodbye Ma with my co-writer.
Hello, Jenny
Ruiza. So we got two for one over here. We are best friends / soul sisters who met many moons ago, and immediately started working together on a comedy capacity.
Yeah. We were doing a sketch comedy show in New York City.
It was a sketch comedy show in New York. Mm-hmm. And we did that for a while. And then we just started doing other things. And we've kind of always wanted to work with each other because we're best friends. And we wanted to make something together, just us. Usually it's an ensemble of a cast, on sketches and things like that, that we've done. But we wanted to do something where we played sisters specifically.
Right. And so this story is called Goodbye Ma. And it is all about two sisters who've been estranged for quite a while and are forced together because their mother suddenly passes away. And so at the reading of the will, chaos ensues.
Yeah, because they hate each other. There's no, let's not pussyfoot around this, okay?
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
They hate each other, and because they're completely, as you know, when people are not alike at all, they hate each other because they don't get each other. So this is one of those stories where it's it teaches people how even if you're related and you're supposed to love each other, you may not like each other at all, but how do you get there? How do you actually like each other or learn to love each other
when their life is at risk?
Yes. So it stemmed from a feature film that we have been writing for many years, maybe 4 years or something.
Yeah.
And we realized it's going to take a lot of money to make this feature film. Money we don't have.
All right. So we thought, okay, let's downsize a little bit and still create the world and the characters and introduce that out. And then hopefully from there be able to then write the feature length version of this world.
Right.
These half sisters.
Right. So Goodbye Ma is the short version. It's kind of like when the sauce starts brewing, that part of the story, where it's it's about to go down. About to go down.
Yeah.
That's where we started this short. And we hope that people love it. We love it. We're glad that you love it. We're so happy to be a part of this call and just listening to everybody's stories, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. It's really a great opportunity for us. And, it's the first, I feel longer length project that we've written together because we've written sketches before and musical parodies, things like that. And it feels like we've graduated in a way.
Yeah. Now we're doing film.
Yeah.
Thank you for accepting us into your crew.
Yes, thank you.
We're so excited. And we hope to continue on after this short, after we make it.
Yep.
We film it. We hope to do the feature, and then we'll be part of the feature film crew, which is pretty cool. Yeah, we're excited.
what I love about that is a lot of people ask, I'm sure everyone here has gotten this, it's like, how do you get started in this? Like, how do you get started as a writer? How do you get started as a filmmaker? And, I know from my standpoint, especially like, from the festival standpoint, I've made my own stuff as well. Is like, yeah, just got to go do it. Like, you got to sit down and you got to write. You got to go out and you got to make the thing, like, no matter what. Like, the moment that you pick up the camera and, press record, then like, great news, you're a filmmaker now.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet, but we've done little tests here and there so far, character tests and stuff. We're pretty excited about it.
Absolutely. And lastly, we have Michael here joining us. Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself and your project.
Thank you for having me. My name's Michael McGurk. I'm on the East Coast. I was in New York for about 25 years, and about 6 years ago, I moved to Ridgefield, Connecticut, about an hour outside. I was an actor. I'm an actor and singer. That's what I did in New York all those years. But itching at me was writing. I took a writing class back when I was in college years ago, a playwriting class, and I loved it. And I never, I always was like, oh, I'll just do it again. I'll just do it again. But, I'm not that good without a deadline. I'm not that good without a structured, situation where it forces me to do that. And it was like 2019. I said to my wife, I said, I feel as if my life is not complete unless I'm writing. And I said, I have to write. I have to do something. So I got into a playwriting class in 2019 in the city. And then I got into another class, and then COVID hit, and then the class became virtual. So all during COVID, it was like my wife and I get out of the city, and we were it was like Funny Farm. I was like, we rented a house in the middle of, didn't know where we were, but all I was doing was writing. I became obsessed. And I was like, I know what I'll do. We'll move out here and I'll get a job that'll support me writing. But all of a sudden the job took over and I wasn't really doing any writing. So like 2 years ago, I'm looking at stuff on my computer. I'm like, I need to submit something. And I submitted to a short play festival in the city, and it got accepted. Ended up winning audience award, and I was like, oh, that's cool. All right, that's great. And now I have to do something else. So I'd never written anything for film before. So I was like, I'm going to write something. And I'll maybe map out where it's going to go, what it's going to be about. I'm like, I'm going to improvise this entire script. And my main mantra was, do not take the pen off the paper. Basically, don't take my hands off the keyboard, no matter what. I didn't even know where I was starting, where it was going. And I improvised the script. I did it very quickly. And all of a sudden I had the script for Tiny Pencils. And Tiny Pencils is about a guy who is trying to tell a girl he's not into her. And everything he's saying, she's taking it as she is into him. So he's trying to like end it. And everything he's saying is she's like, you're amazing. I can't believe you say the nicest things. So that's Tiny Pencils. And it was fascinating for me to write in this way because I was telling my wife about this because she was like, what are you going to talk about? I go, well, one thing that really stood out to me when I was writing, there's one line in the script where I write, my character says, because he realizes she's confused, man, I'm not really making much sense right now. And that was actually me, Michael, the writer, writing, I'm not really making much sense right now with my writing. But then that triggered a whole new aspect of the script. With the girl saying, you sound just like this person and stuff like that. So all of a sudden it built on. And I don't know if I'll definitely use that technique going forward of just improvising a script because you probably can improvise a lot of bad scripts. But for some reason, this one worked. This is my first script for a film I have ever written. This is the first and only thing I've submitted it to. So I am so happy and excited that it has been accepted to this. So it's great. I'm on cloud nine, and it's a script that has an ending, and it's maybe a little ambiguous. It could lead into a longer. I wrote it as like a short, but maybe it could end up being a whole comedy feature or something like that. You never know.
I'm going to hop over to Kyle. Kyle, you're a stand-up comedian, and you've taken this idea of this story while also having this background with stand-up comedy. How did that influence what went into Biker Guy and Cat, or was it just a completely different process?
I just think that doing stand up just really helps out my joke writing and putting it into a format in script writing. Just having to go up on stage and just practice jokes all the time just got me to be also confident in my writing. So that's kind of how I kind of transitioned into that. And now I'm kind of more focused into script writing and, you know, instead of stand-up comedy now, because this is a lot more enjoyable and the reward is a lot more when you get recognition for stand-up. I feel. I mean, when I get recognition for script writing, then stand-up. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's cool to see kind of what that journey has been, and you know, now you're focusing on this. Yeah, but obviously everything is kind of cyclical. It can come around. So, you know, waves of the writing and filmmaking, waves of the stand-up comedy. So really, really cool. So kind of in a similar vein, I mean, we've got the Goodbye Ma crew with the sketch background. So tell us a little bit about, you know, that. I think it seemed like even the journey from going from like a feature to a short, you were already kind of using that mentality. How do we take this and make it a little bit more digestible? But in what other ways do you feel like it was influencing, that background in sketch was influencing things?
Like what Kyle was talking about, doing stand up is like, it's so essential. Like, it's just one of those things that when you do it, you know how to, like, I was just saying, you know how to set up a joke, you know how to land your joke, you know the story of the joke, right? Because a lot of the jokes are like full on stories. So I think that really helps. That just helps with comedy writing. And for me, I started doing stand-up, and then I started doing sketch because I wanted to work with people. I didn't want to be the only one on the stage. Yeah, so for you, it was a little bit different, right?
For me, it was different because I kind of hopped right into, I actually started out as a writer. I would say I was more in the writing world, but writing for myself and, you know, trying to get my tone down. And then I had written a Family Guy episode.
Oh my God, such a great episode.
Thank you. And I was really proud of it, and I didn't know what to do with it, but I heard through the grapevine that someone, namely Jasenia, was hiring for her sketch comedy show. And I was like, this is it. This is my chance. I'm going to submit this. And then you ended up loving it.
Yeah, because I thought it was raunchy, and I love raunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we met.
It's so cool to hear that. It's so cool to, you know, kind of hear how it has influenced things, and also that y'all have been there, you know, kind of for this journey, you know, collaborating, building each other up. And I think that's my favorite part about film, about writing, about live comedy as well. I'm kind of the same boat. When I've done live comedy, I've gone more towards the sketch realm. You know, it's kind of like the idea of stand-up, love watching stand-up. Love stand-up comedians, but when I've tried it, it's been like, oh boy, I'm just floating out here all by myself.
Yeah, it's petrifying.
As we're kind of keeping the live performance thread going, Michael, I'm curious. You know, you mentioned your background a little bit. Hearing what Kyle, Jasenia, and Jenny are kind of saying, is it kind of similar for you? I know you talked about the script being a little bit improvisational. Was that something that, you know, improvisational, that you were just kind of going as you were, you know, as you were writing, or were you kind of bouncing ideas off of?
No, I was going as I was writing. I was actually becoming both characters, both the man and the woman. And I realized that it's easier to write when I know the character. I've always been good at that. I grew up with an English and Irish family. Both my parents were from overseas, so I grew up with accents all the time. My whole life, I've been doing different characters and acting as different characters. My wife thinks I'm a lunatic, but that is how I just got into the characters' heads. And once you know that, the script writes itself. It really does. And so, although I was improvising it, I knew who the characters were. So that made it a way easier than just, you know, blindly going, you know, in my own voice and then trying to figure out who these people were afterwards. I knew who they were right away as soon as I started writing it. Maybe based on me and my past and being in bad relationships that I just felt I couldn't get out of because maybe I was too nice, or silly things like that. Like, of course, everything comes from somewhere. It's not created out of thin air. So maybe subconsciously I was, the harboring back to those situations. But yeah, I mean, background as an actor definitely helped with it.
That's awesome. Sam, tell us a little bit about, how you built out like this world, how your background influenced it. I know you mentioned a little bit before of like, kind of having that close group of friends, obviously a personal tragedy as well. Which, obviously sorry to hear about that. Was there anything else that you were kind of pulling on from going into it?
Yeah, so I really got into comedy through my uncle. He works in improv comedy in Fort Worth. And so I grew up going to his shows. I did like a prom ask during one of his improv shows. Like, it's just so much fun. And I think the funniest part, like I've tried to do stand-up and it did not go well. I wrote one joke and I tried it out loud and it was like dead silent. Like, no, I think I'm someone that's just more naturally funny than I am. Like, I try to plan it out. And when I think about the script and I think of the moments that are funny, it's me and my friends just riffing off of each other. I think that's what makes it so like funny and real as well. There was an earlier draft where I threw all the jokes I could. I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I tried to throw in this long form wrestling joke in there and it worked. And then when I was going back and, editing it down, I realized like it didn't hit as well because it wasn't a natural flow of conversations. Right. And the scene when Derek shows back up as a ghost, like that whole sequence is, I think it's like 10 pages long, but when I was reading it with my buddy, my best friend and writing partner, we got through it in like 2.5 minutes because it's just the way that we naturally talk to each other and the things that we find funny in our delivery. And so I think kind of along with what Michael said about improvising, it just was like I would write about half of the dialogue and I'd call my friend and we'd read it. And then I just would kind of go off of it. He would finish his line and then I'd just throw something else out there and we'd kind of build it as we go. But it is kind of, like Michael said, you write what you know. And I think one of the characters is kind of me, nicer guy, kind of awkward, but like has a little charm. And then Derek is the other side, which is that mask, when I get going with when I'm in the zone and I feel like, I'm riffing and I'm doing good. It's like, yeah, that's me. It's kind of like that mask. So being able to like see myself as both the characters really helped a lot. And just like having those close relationships and being able to like base it off of real conversations and real jokes that we have had. And there's a scene where this whole sequence takes place in a strip club and I'm trying to, hook up with the stripper. And funny enough, that was a situation I had to talk my friend out of, like in college while we're all drunk off our ass. So it's funny to be able to like look at all these moments and draw from, legitimate conversations we have had at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. We're all just laughing our asses off and having a good time.
Awesome. So Laura, getting back to kind of like where we were, this idea of like, going from the novel, going from the author background to how that translates into screenplay. As we were saying, your project, Bagels and Salsa, is something that you have both pilot and feature versions of. Tell us a little bit about like jumping between mediums as well as that format, because it's very different to write a feature versus a pilot.
It is very different. And I wrote the feature first. And what I did from my novel is I actually outlined the novel. And then I started putting dialogue in from the novel and then setting up visually the scene that I wrote, but not using the writing from the book. I find it really challenging. And a lot of people do it the other way around. They write the screenplay, which I did do with my screenplay, The M&M Boys, which is about Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle's home run race in '61. I grew up in New York and my dad used to take me to the Yankee games as a little kid. So I was a big huge fan. But anyway, I feel like, to be really honest, that writing a screenplay for me is so much easier. Has anybody ever written a novel out of this group? Okay, that is like, for me, a minimum of a year project. I can knock out a screenplay in a couple of weeks. So it's, and we're talking writing full time. I take writing as a job. I've been very blessed. I took an early retirement, and so I'm writing full time and just love the opportunity. Also, I don't have kids at home anymore, so I actually am a full-time writer. As far as the pilot versus the feature, I have always pictured, frankly, when I wrote the novel, a TV series. I see so many offshoots of this. I will tell you this, I never wrote comedy before, and I've obviously done pretty well since I've won about over, I've placed in over 20 contests this year. And I feel like this is where I want to be, is in comedy. It just comes right out of me. I'm sure y'all feel that way. Like you don't even know, but there it is. And then you're looking at these lines like, where did I come up with it? Anyway, I don't want to keep going on, but I will say that I love doing the different mediums, and I find it, I think I'm more a screenwriter than a novelist, even though I love writing novels. I love it all, but I'm starting a new screenplay right now called The In-Laws, The Ex-Laws, and The Outlaws. And it's about a wedding with, talk about diversity. You've got hippies and evangelists and rednecks and Orthodox Jews and a whole mix of people at a wedding, and it goes crazy. Anyway, again, comedy. So it seems like that's where I'm going.
So something that with these panels, with these virtual panels that we are starting to do this year, is, we get this group of creative people all together and we're talking about our projects, and we try through the Comedy Film Festival to kind of hit all the major points, but we know that we don't have all the insight, all the backgrounds that y'all do. So what I want to do is take a step back for just a minute and open the floor to y'all. Do y'all have any questions for each other about whether process, backgrounds, or this particular project?
I mean, honestly,
I
with
just wanted
everybody.
to tell you, Laura. Oh, sorry. Oh, now we all talking. I love it.
Just needed a minute.
I just wanted to tell you, Laura, I think it's amazing that you went from writing novels to screenplays, and now you're like, yeah, screenplays, that's it for me.
Yeah, when you know.
I mean, that's really, I think it's way bigger than what maybe you think it is, but it's huge. It's like, whoa, to me, right?
Yeah,
I just fell in love with it when I started writing. And part of it is a novel, you really don't get any gratification for a long time.
Right.
And, and you visualize just like you do in a screenplay. You're seeing the scenes, but you don't have to write all the stuff. You just, nail the setting and the dialogue and the emotional beats. And anyway.
I'm sure your screenplay is really fun to read too, because I'm sure you're like descriptive and like you really place us there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I would love to read one if you let me.
I would be
we're always
happy
trying to learn.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I was going to make a request if anybody else is interested in sharing. I'd love to see everybody here's work.
Oh, yes, that would be a great idea.
If no one minds, if you would share our emails with each other, that'd be great, because I'm really curious. I was going to ask everyone, like, when you're writing a screenplay, this screenplay, if it's the only one, does something just click with you that all of a sudden, you know, like you want to write a whole story? Is like one day you're like, oh my God, this is it. Did that happen to you? I'm just curious. If you'd all like take turn, just.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, for me, it's a build. Like, I have an idea, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's a good idea," and then I kind of like think about it throughout, kind of like, I don't know. I would say, if when I get the idea, I go out through my everyday life in the back of my head, and then it kind of itches at me, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna approach it, you know, and that's where I get in kind of like these modes where I consistently write and then take a break and reflect, you know. So like and then I come back to it and I just improve, because for me I started out writing, you know, just like I didn't have any background in writing, so I just started doing it. So
Well, you know that writing is rewriting.
You know, having other writers. Yeah, so I just,
You know, the editing takes. I have a critique group, and that then first, a lot. You know, you're first getting it out and you're all excited, but then
That's awesome.
cleaning it up.
Maybe that's what this leads
Taking
to.
critique.
Forming
Have
a
you
little
all
group,
critique?
you know,
Had people
connected
critique
with people
for you before
all around the
you
country.
started
Go ahead,
sending it
Michael.
out? Yeah.
I was going to quickly say something. I think Kyle, you'd asked something about the writing process and how you write. I'm big into being truthful and honest. I mean, to me, that is, anytime there's a show, a movie, I'm like, that's fake. People don't talk that way. That's the act, that they're not acting the right way. There's nothing behind it, anything like that. So when I'm writing, I feel I have to be truthful and honest in how I write, even if it is comedy. You know, comedy's serious business. That's what they always say. But I always like to do this imagery I have. You know, when you do a crossword puzzle and it's like, oh, I know the answer. And you go to put it down and you're like, oh, that's not the answer, but it's so obvious. What's the next one? What's the next one? So when I'm writing, I'm like, let's not do the obvious. What's the next one? What's the next one? So, I mean, it's just a way for me personally to get things layered and a little more in depth and a little more truthful, because that's, you know, that's life. Life is not so simple and everything's out in the open and right here. So what's the underlying thing of everything? I mean, that's just something I do when I write.
For sure. Well, as we wrap things up, I'm going to ask the question that some creatives love, some loathe, and that's what's next. Obviously, here we are with writers, so we know that maybe the next step is to actually make the thing, but maybe you're like, oh, I'm going to make a different thing, or I'm going to work on writing a different thing. Sam, let's start with you. What's the next step for you?
I'm actually, like I said, we're about to enter production for a psychological horror film. It's called She Remains. It follows a man who attends the funeral of an abusive ex-girlfriend of his, and then after the funeral, he starts seeing her everywhere. And so that's a totally different shift than what I currently have. It's about, you know, the power of guilt, and how we deal with struggling with grief, about, especially with someone that hurt you like that, and like the pain that comes with healing from those relationships. So we're currently filming. We'll film that in June, hopefully have it out and start circulating festivals by October. But for this, I think the next film is like, I don't really kind of know. So this script is has gotten in a couple festivals, gotten some cool opportunities on my end. And I just it's the one I feel the most confident with, and submitting it in festivals kind of around the country and just seeing what nibbles, right? I mean, I'm fairly relatively new to this industry. Like I said, I've been writing. I submitted my first script last November. It was this one. I submitted this last November, and went 1 for 1. And now it's just like, I'm addicted to the thrill of it. So it's just learning as I go, hopefully getting in front of the right people that like the ideas and seeing what goes from there. I think my main thing is just continuing to write films and shorts that I like, that are passionate for me, whatever that genre might be. And I'm a funny guy, so I always try to bring comedy into it. But this is what's next is stuff like this, being able to connect with people that have a lot more knowledge than I do and learn from them and kind of take what I'm doing and, you know, hopefully be able to work with everybody in the future, whether it's this project or other ones. And just, you know, I love teaching. I really do. But I want this to be something I can do full time, to be able to sit back with my wife and my daughter and be able to say, like, have a career and be able to put bread on the table for them by doing what I love.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. I will hopefully talk to all of you guys later.
Good to meet you, Sam.
Thank
Good to
you.
meet you guys. Bye.
Kyle, what's the next step for you?
I just want to see just something happened in my writing career, at least, where I can just tell my niece and nephew, hey, Uncle Kyle, hey, sold a script once, so just something, that I can just kind of pat on my back for.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's been echoed in here a few times of like taking these steps, because this is not me kind of like touting the high and mighty of the Comedy Film Festival, but more of just giving praise to y'all. It is not easy as a writer to put your work out there, whether it's submitting it to a film festival or taking that step to get it made. So I do think that y'all are all taking the right steps. So kudos to y'all for doing this. Michael, curious for you, what's the next step?
I've got the feature that I'm writing, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what genre that fits in. To me, it's like the short stories I used to grow up on, sort of like I love a twist at the end, those type of things. So I've got that script in the works, nearly done, and hopefully going to be submitting that soon.
Really cool to see that this wasn't just a one-off in the writing realm, that you're continuing to go down that path.
Like I said to my wife 6 years ago, my life will not be complete if I'm not writing. And I firmly believe that. It's the truth.
Justine and Jenny, what's next? Is it Goodbye Ma? Do y'all have other projects? Is it sketch? What's going on?
Oh my God.
We're going to film this. The plan is to film this in late September, early October. And we've already got our cast pretty locked. And we're just trying to figure out, I think maybe 2 more people from our crew. And then we start crowdfunding, which that is a whole journey that we're going to throw ourselves into. So, we'd love it if you could share, if you see it out there in the ether. The more the merrier. But we are determined to make this film.
Yes.
Very cool. Some exciting things lining up, and we're looking forward to being able to amplify the message for sure.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And lastly, Laura, what is next? You've got, a lot of different avenues that you could go down. Which one are you going to pick first?
Well, I have been focusing the last 6 months. I entered a lot of contests, and I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I've placed in over 20 contests, and I entered about 34 or something like that.
Brag, girl, brag.
I'm sorry. It's not me normally, but I guess you have to in this business a little bit. I really want to get this made. I wrote a short. If I can get that made, that would be, take that on the film festival circuit. I won first prize in comedy in the Monaco International Film Festival, and I went to Monaco. Recommend any of you to enter that. They're amazing people, and you meet people from all over the world, all the people that entered film. So it's an international, and the people who run it are just wonderful. My goal is to get this thing made, and I write every day just like I play pickleball every day. Those 2 things are part of my life. But so I'm always going to write, but I'm spending at least 2 or 3 hours every day trying to find avenues of getting this thing made. I sort of made a promise. Well, my husband is supportive that if I can't get this made in the next year, that we're just going to make the short ourselves and, fund it, not do it. We're amateurs, and I don't want it to be amateurs. So find professional people in New Mexico, because that's where it'll be filmed, to make it, or make the short. I'm sorry. I'd love to make the feature. I don't think I could afford it, but that's where I'm at now.
Well, all of these projects are part of the script and pilot competition for the 2026 version of the Comedy Film Festival. I want to thank all the writers who joined us today. We're really looking forward to being able to amplify all of y'all's work. For those that are joining us in Austin, looking forward to having you there. If you're part of the pitch competition, looking forward to that. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting everybody.
Nice meeting you guys too.
Bye now.
Bye.